Hi, as part of the Bombay IIT OER, today let us see a topic called as Entity Control Boundary Classes. Entity Control Boundary Classes are the three types of classes that can be identified for any application based on what they do within the application. So are they interfacing with the user? Are they doing some functionality? Or are they representing some information, let's say about customer, would be an example of the three types of classes. Take an example of a marketing campaign application, and here we see all the three kind of classes. So the information about what items customer purchases or the customers or the mails that we send to customers are entity classes. The boundary classes would be the interface with the budgeting system as well as the form in which we fill in the details about the marketing campaign. And the controller class would be the class which actually creates a new marketing campaign for us. So entity control boundary classes are seen like this. So entity classes typically represent the database concepts or the domain concepts, similar to entities in a ER diagram or databases like students or products or customers and so on. The control classes generally represent functionality. For example, in a libraries application, issuing book or allocating a project in a project management system. The boundary classes generally represent interface of the system, user interface, and so on. So for example, being able to make a payment using payment gateway using credit card in a shopping application, or a login input class where we fill in the username and password. Entity class, let's look at some more examples. So in a banking application, a bank account class. In a car sales application, a car class. In an examination system, the questions or answers class, or the client class in a marketing application would be examples of entity applications. The boundary classes typically do interface with other systems or user interface. For example, on a website, a home page, or in a library application, the search form, or an email gateway which sends you emails in a marketing campaigning application, or a ODBC proxy class which interfaces with database and stores all your client or transaction information are examples of boundary classes. The control class examples would be, for example, the page analyzer or the crawler. For example, the crawler class could crawl around the internet and get information for you. An example application and how do we identify different kinds of classes in the application? Let's take a look at it. Let's take the simplest login scenario, which is true with any application. And let's identify the three types of classes there. So the form in which a user is able to fill in the username and password would be a login form, which is a boundary class because it interfaces with the user. The username and passwords are stored in a entity class, and the controller class would be where you compare the username and passwords with the stored usernames and passwords, and that would be a controller class. In a salary application for an employee in an HR application scenario, the entity classes would be the employee, the department, the job role, the bank account, the salary slip. This would all be entity classes. The boundary classes would be where you see the salary details as a report, or you interface with the bank, or the salary form where you are able to input all the your deductions and incomes and other details. The example application salary, let's see how to identify the control classes there. The classes which are responsible for, say, calculating salary, for calculating taxes, for transferring money to the bank would be examples of the control classes. So in conclusion, given an application, given the kind of functionality you have, you may identify controller classes based on the kind of information that you need to store. Those would probably be your entity classes, and the interface with other systems or interface with user interface, those kind of classes would be the boundary classes. Identifying this entity, boundary and control classes in this kind of a pattern helps you quickly identify classes and appropriate classes for any application. Thank you.